And good morning, everyone, and welcome to IGTV. With us is William H. Murray, and Bill is closing out a four-part segment on essentials. Bill, take it away.
This week, I promised that we would wrap up essential practices, those things that can be done by anyone with available resources, are about point 0.8 effective, but which complement one another in such a way that we can get very effective security at a fraction of the cost of any one measure with the same level of effectiveness. Last week, we had a number of examples. We talked about storing sensitive data only on enterprise servers and using server-based access control to resist arbitrary and gratuitous copies. We also talked about end-to-end encryption and client-to-server encryption. If one is going to use Wi-Fi, this week's example, and almost everybody does, one should encrypt the airside. WPA2, the standard protocol, also known as IEEE 802.11-2004, is supported in all modern Wi-Fi equipment. But any Wi-Fi encryption is better than none. The burden is in distributing the keys among the using devices. The size of this burden is a function of the number of devices using the wireless network. As in any encryption scheme, the key is most vulnerable when it is being distributed. All key distribution protocols leak, but none leak nearly so much as Wi-Fi without encryption. Use them carefully, try and use the right one for your environment, but remember that it's the encryption that's the important thing. Indeed, the use of encryption is so fundamental that the RIAA and the MPAA have advocated making it a criminal offense not to use it. But that's a subject for another day. Dial in using only VPNs and only via ISPs. Said another way, get rid of dial-in the enterprise. The Verizon data breach incident report showed that a significant number of breaches exploit dial ports installed usually for the convenience of support personnel. That is in part because operating dial-in security requires knowledge, skills, abilities, and resources that are beyond all but a few specialized enterprises. We call those enterprises ISPs. Yes, I understand that many of your users work from locations with no broadband access. We even had a famous case of somebody, a support person, coming in from Moscow. I understand that many work from locations with no broadband. For them, dial-in may be necessary. However, that does not say it is necessary for you to operate it. Users should dial into an ISP and access your applications and systems via the internet. Those VPNs, indeed all VPNs, should terminate on the applications, not on the perimeter, and not on operating systems. Encryption should always terminate on applications rather than the network perimeter or operating systems. This simplifies its use and improves its effectiveness. Patch broadly in preference to early. Said another way, convert patching from an unplanned responsive activity to a planned activity. It turns out to be dramatically more efficient to patch most or even many of your systems in 90 or even 180 days than to patch a few in hours or days. Patch wisely. In a year in which 2,200 vulnerabilities were reported, roughly 1 in 100 of them were exploited. Said another way, not all vulnerabilities are problems. Not all problems are of equal size. Would you not rather have patched the 20 than the 2,200? Lock down your systems. Hide the operating system and any other capability to install or modify programs. Now I can hear the moans from here. Most of you are professionals or even paraprofessionals. Many of you exploit such capabilities, and some of you even need them. However, no executives and few managers need these privileges. Few administrative or clerical users need them. Change the default and dramatically reduce your vulnerability. Microsoft provides powerful tools for locking down systems and administering lockdown systems. Few of us are using them well. Finally, layer your defenses. As your resources grow in value and your adversaries in power, push your defenses out, suck your valuables in, and push them down into the ground. Between the internet and the crown jewels, there should be several, say 4 or 5 layers. Tunnels, VPNs, that bypass those layers should lead to limited and contained privileges and capabilities. Many of these practices you may have already implemented. 1 or 2 may not apply to you. There may be other practices that qualify as essential that I have not identified. Make your own list. Order it in terms of efficiency. Work your list. Most of these things can be done in 6 months or so. Focus on essential practices before moving on to more expensive measures that require more expensive justification processes. In the meantime, cover those measures with risk acceptances. We should be using essential practices as the method for answering those critical management questions like, how do I allocate my scarce resources, and where do I spend my next security dollar? The use of essential practices is a method. It is a method for allocating our scarce resources. It is a method for answering the management questions. It is method that characterizes us as professionals, ensures our efficiency, and earns us the big bucks. See you next week.
Thanks, Bill. Certainly appreciate it. All right. And that is Essential Practices from William H. Murray. And that is the InfraGard editorial for this week. Thank you once again, Bill. Have a great week.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Take care.